Brought that up.
So sorry I mentioned it.
Okay, here we go. We're going to get started. Have a wonderful day today. Today is Tuesday, October 4th, and we're going to be talking about some of the lesser known, lesser used tools in Photoshop. May or may not be worth using, but they're going to be there if you ever decide, hey, I need to use that. Mike talked about it, and hopefully we'll see something out of it. So here we go. And we'll share desktop. Let's go to Photoshop. And y'all can see my screen right now, I hope.
Yes.
And we have up there the West Coast School flyer for next year. I always want to put that up because West Coast School's fun. It's summer camp for photographers. So you can go to westcoastschool.com, all one word, and sign up today or talk to Mel at 1-800-439-5839 extension 3, and he can work out a monthly program for you, so you don't have to do one big hit. You can do it little by little every month. So there you go.
Doesn't matter. Oh, it does matter. Hold on.
And last but not least, we have my Venmo information. If you want to pay me money for being here, you don't have to. Everything is free. I left it up there just because people have asked me in the past to put it up, but that's okay. Gone.
Oh,
What, you want it up there again?
yes, please.
Okay.
You'd be a great write-off.
Yeah, I'll take your write-off. If you want to screenshot that, or you can just go ahead and use the code there.
I got it all. Thank you.
All right, there we go. Just that easy. And let's get into Photoshop. So first things first, we'll get into this crazy bird right here. And the first thing I want to show you is what's called the count tool. The count tool is located in the eyedropper tool. So it's I is the shortcut for it. You got the eyedropper, 3D material eyedropper, color sampler tool, the ruler tool, the note tool, and the count tool. Well, let's say I wanted to count it, all these feathers that he has here. I just click on the count tool. I can change the color of the count. I'm going to leave it like it is because that's the default colors. No big deal. And marker size and label size, you can change those as well, but we'll just start here on the first feather and click on it, and it goes 1. Click on it again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you have a project where you have to count different items in an image and you don't want to get up there with your finger and count them, all you have to do is bring up the count tool and start counting. Let's say I want to do the other side, only I didn't want it on the same mark. So what we'll do is start a new group. I'm going to call it count group 2. And I'll click on 1, 2, change my mind. I'm going to hit Command Z a couple times. I'm going to change it to red this time. So the left wing is going to be blue. The right wing will be red. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, blah, 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 blah. So that's how fast you can go through and count things. So is it useful? I don't know. I've only used it once before, but it saves me having to count the whole time. And even if you close this out, so we'll close it by saving it. So Command W, save. And it's closed. Go back into it, double click on it to bring it back up from bridge. You can see that the count is still there. If I go to print this, or if I email it to somebody that does not have Photoshop, wants to open up a JPEG, then those won't show up. So that's first things first. So we'll close that out. Go bridge.
Michael,
Sir,
is there a way to have it print those though?
I do not know that. It's a good question.
That might be.
Does Photoshop handle that basically like like the guides and stuff that you can turn them off with? Is it like Splat H or something to hide guides or show guides? Is it handled the same way?
Let me, hang on, I gotta share screen again. I'll just share my desktop and there we go. Okay, you can see my bird again?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll go to I, which is a shortcut for that. We'll go make it just a little bit bigger. And what we can do is I can get rid of them, or I can just turn them off with the eyeball right next to the group number. So on the top toolbar, it says count group 1. I turn off the eyeball. Go to count group 2, turn off the eyeball. And that way it turns them off if you wanted to turn them off because they annoy you. I do not know if there's a keyboard shortcut for that or not.
So Mike, turn them back on if you got a second. Turn them back on.
Okay.
And guides, is it under view? And show and hide guides?
Okay. Yeah. So we'll bring a guide down to this top. And to bring the guides in, all you do is click on the ruler and drag the guides over. So now I've got them in a box. You go to view, guides, and clear guides or clear canvas guides. I'll just clear guides and they're gone. And you can also change the color of the guides in your preferences as well. So if you have a sky that's like this blue and hardly shows up, then what you can do is change the color to whatever you want, red, green, purple, and show the guides there. Used to be way back when they had a keyboard shortcut to hide the guides as Command H or Control H, but they've taken that out. You can put it back in if you wanted to by going into your preferences and doing it, or your keyboard shortcuts and doing it that way. Other questions? So you want to do a guide at say 50%, we'll go into view, guides, new guide, and we'll do 50%. So position right here, we'll say 50%, and that's on the vertical. And then we'll do view, guides, new guide, click on horizontal and do 50%. And so this would be the middle of my image right here. I have the guides to prove it. So instead of trying to figure out exactly where 50% is, you could probably go to the rulers, right click on it and change it to percent, and then do 50% on there as well. Or you can do it that way that I just did. So whatever makes you happy, you can do it that way. Any other questions on guides? Count
No,
tool.
I noticed, so when you're doing guides though, it showed a color.
Uh-huh.
You change the color on the guides. If you could do it there, is there any reason why you should go to properties? Preferences, I mean, I'm sorry.
The color change up here is for the count. So if I change my tool to the zoom tool, okay, to change the color of the guides, I'd have to go to preferences which is Command or Control J, and then guides, grids, and slices. So my guides right now are set to cyan, and I can change them to, say, that dark greenish blue color. Click OK. And now they come out that dark greenish blue color.
Okay.
Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Command W, don't save. And we'll go back to bridge. And let's do, oh, this is interesting. Something I didn't know till recently. If I hit any of my selection tools, which would be the lasso tool, the marquee tool, object selection tool, etc., it's going to bring up my select subject. Next to select subject is a drop down arrow. If I click on that, the default is set to device, which will give you quicker results. So I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to make a copy of this image. So I'll go to image, duplicate, and picture 84 copy. So now I have two images, and select subject is right now default to device, which gives you a quicker selection. So I will do my selection and I'll leave it like that. Let me get rid of, there we go. And you can see it did a pretty good job of selection. So let's go to the copy. We'll change it to cloud select subject, which takes a little bit longer and probably going to have about the same results. So we'll go to window, arrange, tile all vertically. This is something that works really cool too. Window, arrange, tile all vertically, which puts them side by side. So zoom in on the head, and we'll zoom in on the head. So the one on the left was done on device. The one on the right was selected using going up to the cloud to do it. And as you see, they're both pretty close, except when you look at the bat on the right side of his neck, it actually got a very good selection there. If we go to the left one, it only got a fair selection. So I would have to go in and do a lot of cleaning up. And if I want to fix the hair, so I'll click on this, go to select and mask. And then with select and mask up at the top, you have refine hair. And that gives me a pretty decent cutout without having to do a whole lot of extra work. So output to new layer mask. You can see a little bit of grunge in his hair there. We'll do the one on the left, selected mask, refine hair. Click OK. Go back because it didn't keep it. New layer mask. Click OK. And you can see the difference in the selection here and here. It's not a perfect selection of the bat. Obviously, I'd have to go in and clean it up a lot, but you can see it made a heck of a difference in the selection. Although the hair
And
looks
which
better
one
on the
is
left.
which?
The one on the left is on the device. The one on the right was select subject on the cloud. So we'll go back to select again. And the one on the right was in the cloud, detailed results, quicker results on device. So it is a little bit longer to do the selection that way, but the results are much better. And obviously I'd go in and clean this up before I made the final extraction. But if you look on the neck area next to the bat, it's a little bit cleaner on the one on detailed, and the one on the left, it's a lot chunkier, kind of a messed up selection. So that's something I just learned this last week. So pretty cool. So we'll hit Command W, don't save. Goodbye. Command W, goodbye. So next thing up, let's go to the note tool. Has anybody used the note tool before?
Nope.
Yeah, we're going to do a couple of different things on this one. I'm just going to leave it. You know what? I'm going to do a couple of things really quick on this. I'm not going to level it out here. I'm going to save this for leveling in Photoshop. But in Camera Raw, you have your basic exposure, contrast, et cetera, et cetera. I always start with clicking on auto, which gives me a place to start. Obviously, that's way too bright. So I'll bring it back down a little bit, bring the highlights up a little more, bring the shadows out a little bit more. And I'm not going to fix this perspective on the building, which I could do in geometry. All I have to do is hit A and it fixes it automatically for me. But I'm not going to do that. I need to show you something else. So we'll get into there. The first thing I want to show you is the note tool. And the note tool is also hidden in the eye, which is the eyedropper tool. Second one from the bottom, it's called the note tool. Now, if I sent this to somebody to have them look at it for, say, image comp or flaws that I might have in this, I can put a note up here and say, please help me. And then get rid of that. And now put a note in there. So if you wanted to see what the note says, you just double click on it. It says, please help me. The thing to remember about the note tool is you have to save it as a PSD to save the notes in there. And you can see my original note is in yellow. So a notepad, it's like the little sticky notes. Well, let's go back to this one. And the author is Mikey. In the upper left-hand corner in the toolbar, you have your color and your author. So we got that. So we're going to go to the next one. We're going to change the color to, say, a light blue. And the author is going to be Anthony. And Anthony says, this is a POS, which means a piece of junk. Don't bother trying to do anything with it. Mel's going to say, we're going to make Mel green because he's always positive. Mel.
I'm sorry, I can't keep a straight face on that one.
This is
Go ahead.
fantastic.
Anthony, watch it. I
can't
delete
do it.
you. I can eject you.
Fix the perspective. So Mel wants me to fix the perspective now. So everybody we send this to sees all the notes and can say, okay, we need to do this. Well, let's move him, cancel that.
Interesting.
So, okay, I want to fix the perspective. So the fastest way to do this is go to the crop tool. I can do it in camera raw also. I'm going to go to perspective crop and I clear the settings up, the width and the height and the resolution. So I'll just select the whole image with the crop tool. And you see you have lines going along here with the grid. So you take your grid lines and you make it so that they line up with the perspective you're trying to fix. And that looks fairly close. So I'll hit OK.
Hmm.
And then you have your before and after. So now your perspective is a whole lot better. I was using a fairly wide angle lens, so it caused everything to curve in a little bit. Or hang on, cancel. Go back to where it was. We'll go to filter, camera raw filter. We'll go down to geometry. We'll click on apply balance perspective. So you have before and after. And when you do that, it kind of crops a little bit in raw. So to crop off areas that aren't fitting in. So
Where'd you get those grid lines again? Was it an edit or an image?
the grid lines I
Yeah.
got in perspective crop tool. So you have two things in the crop tool. You've got crop tool and perspective crop tool.
Okay.
So with perspective, if I draw corner to corner, and let's go ahead and whack this thing out now, really make it funky. That's my perspective crop. And you can see that it did a marvelous job of fixing everything.
Hmm.
So.
Hmm.
Questions, answers? So on the note tool, you have to save it as a PSD file, otherwise the notes go away. If you save it as a JPEG, they're not there. Sending your images around in PSDs can be daunting because they're fairly large files. So you have to use all the different tools available for sending big files. Google's got one, you got Dropbox, all the other ones. So I think the max that I can send out in email is 20 megabytes, which is not very big. This one alone is 280 megabytes, the way it's set up right now. So, questions? Going once, going twice, gone. Let's go back to bridge and take my grandson, the army guy, and anybody notice anything wrong with the image?
Little red eye.
No, that's the way he always is. Little devil there. We have the red eye tool, which is under J, which is your healing brush, spot healing brush, patch tool, content aware move tool, and red eye tool. They have actually fixed the red eye tool pretty good, because it used to, when you click on the eyeball, it would take not only the pupil, but the iris as well, and change that into red. But they fixed it now. So when you click on it, it looks like it's supposed to look. So you have the red eye reduction tool, which is in the J in the healing brushes down at the bottom. I used to badmouth that tool, but it works wonderfully now. Any questions? Red eye tool. Okay, I showed you image duplicate. I showed you red eye, perspective crop, note tool. Shape tool. Let's close that guy out for now. Command new 8x10. Perfect. We're gonna do the shape tool. Yeah, let's go ahead and make it a funky color. And the shape tool is keyboard shortcut U. So you go to custom shape. When you go to your shapes, if you don't have legacy shapes and more, you're missing a whole bunch of tools. All legacy shapes. You've got arrows and hearts. And let's say do a flower. And you can see the color that I picked. It made the shape there for me in that color. Well, you can change these really easily. So use your magic wand. I don't know if it'll let me do it or not. It won't let me do it. I want to use the magic wand. Because it's a fill layer, I can't do anything with it. So what we do is right click here, rasterize layer. Now I can use my tool. And if I wanted to change the color of the flowers, we can just do the fill. So it'd be option, delete, deselect, take the second one, we'll make it blue. That'll work. Option delete, or there is a paint bucket tool somewhere in here. I can never remember where it's at. That's why I never use it. Good. I don't need the paint bucket tool because I use the keyboard shortcut. Option backspace or option delete on a
It was
Mac.
under the gradient, you missed it.
It's under the gradient.
Yeah.
Okay, I've probably got it hidden. Yeah, there's paint bucket tool. It's normally under the gradient tool, but I've got mine put away in a different area. So for filling in the colors, the color on the left is blue, which is my foreground color. So that one would be option or alt, delete or backspace. So if you hit alt backspace or option delete, it'll fill with that color. If you wanted to fill with the color that's on the bottom, which is your background color, that's on the right. And so you would hit command or control backspace or delete. And if you get it wrong, like let's say I wanted to fill this flower, let's use the eyedropper. Whoops, a magic wand tool instead. I wanted to fill it with white and I accidentally filled it with blue. It's like, oh, well, just do the opposite and fill it in. And now you have it. Just that easy. That saves you a whole lot of information on that, or a whole lot of time. And last but not least, let's go back to this guy again. Let's fix him, make him perfect. Curve, nope, I want geometry. Auto, optics, remove chromatic aberration, use color profile. Basic, I'm just going to leave it like it is now. Bring up the shadows a little bit. Bring the whites down a little bit. A little bit of texture, a little bit of clarity, a little bit of dehaze. Open. Open, 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 open. You can go to image. I think I don't do this ever because I have a keyboard shortcut that I do all the time for it. File info, and find out information about this. I just hit Command Option Shift I, Control Alt Shift I. It has the author, The reason it has that is because I put it in, when I brought it into the computer, it brought all the info with it. Camera data, Nikon D850 with the serial number, 24-70, 2.8, shot at 31 millimeters. I didn't take it all the way out to 24. 1/800th of a second, ISO 250 at f11. Image size, resolution. Flash didn't fire because I didn't have a flash on top of my camera. But it tells you all kinds of information, and you can add more to it as well once you get it in there. But this is when I import my files, the metadata comes with it, and I tell it what I want to do. So to check on the information, all you have to do is hit basically the left side of the keyboard, which is Control Alt Shift or Command Option Shift, and then I for information. Or you can go to File, File Info, and that brings up the same information. Any questions? Going once, going twice. We'll stop sharing then. And I'm going to hit the stop recording button.